So, just to recap, in the last session, we made some changes in our tab related to, in our form related to employee and employer as well. So, let us take a look at them. It might take some time for the things to load. So, so here we'll be looking for employees. So, as you might remember, we made some calculated fields related to the strings where we were adding a country code and the mobile number to give the final contact number, right? As well as we discussed how the salary is going to be changed using the exchange rates. Okay, right now the currency we have chosen is for British pounds. If I make any changes to the currency, say US dollar, and I try to save it, you will see the change in the base value, right? Moving on, you have seen the HR department has been added here. Okay. Next up, let us take a look at the department entity and the form we added in that.
Sorry, I don't know that.
So let us open up our solution and the roll-up field which we have created, we'll be adding it. As you can see, we have added a total salary field for our health department. Okay. Let me also try to add the remaining fields for total salary so that I can tell you about how these will be making modifications and what states will be utilizing for the same. Okay, let me just save and close. Publishing my customizations. So now our customizations have been published. Let's go on to our advanced find. Let me just start by adding IT. I will save this, and it is yet to be added to any of the employees. Okay, so let me once again come back to employees and create a few employees which have their results set up as. Okay, so this employee is associated with HR. Let me add their salaries. Okay, I think I stopped sharing. Just one second. Yeah. So here we are just working with our records, maintaining the data, trying to add the department and the salaries. Okay. So here once again we have the department set. So let us just try to create a new employee once again with the department as IT. Okay, so now here we have few records. Once again, let us move on to departments. list them out. So now here you can see the roll-up field for total salary is present in the HR department part. Okay, it was last updated on 3:39 a.m. Okay, today. Okay, and the salary base is also available here. Okay, it was last updated on this date. Okay, and the state is not showing us anything right now. We'll come to the state. A state is something which is going to help you understand what error has come up in the calculation for this particular roll-up field. Okay, now if I want to see this particular field being calculated just right now, okay, what I can do is I will be coming back here onto my system. Okay, the system where you have come to the backend. Okay, going to settings, we'll be going to system jobs under the system tab. Okay, so a system job is basically the function which is being run by the commands which you have given on the front end. Okay, so there are going to be various system jobs, various commands which you have given to your system when you're working on it. Okay, so these are going to be prosecuted and run by the system in the form of these system jobs. Okay, let us choose here our roll up field calculations. So as you can see, the status here is showing that it is waiting for timer. It is waiting for the 12-hour default time to strike so that it can process this particular field. Okay, this is one part. Okay, now we know it is our calculate field for KTS department entity. Let me just click on that. It takes some time to load. So here you can see the system job. Okay, and it is going to show when it was actually created. Right, it was created yesterday by me on the system. Right, and now you will see some actions present over here. These actions are resume, postpone, pause, bulk resume, bulk pause. Okay, so what do these actions basically carry out the function as? So when you try to resume a system job, it is basically going to force resume a job which was supposed to resume, was supposed to get processed at a different time. Okay, so obviously the time here is 3:38 p.m. Okay, that was created yesterday. Okay, so if the time here is set at 3:38 p.m., okay, that means the first 12 hours were created today at 3:38 a.m., right? As you could see in the roll up in the department field for roll up as well, that it was last updated on 3:39 a.m., right? So now once again after 12 hours, that is today at 3:38 p.m., it will again be processed, it will again be start running. Okay, but I want to see this a little bit sooner than 3:38 today, so I will be going to my actions, be clicking on resume. Okay, I can resume this job. Furthermore, it still takes a few minutes, about 5 to 10 minutes at times, or sometimes 2 to 3 minutes depending on the data which you have added. Okay. Here once again you can see that there is option for postpone. So maybe job was supposed to be run today at 3:38, but I don't want it to run for this particular time frame. I want it to run tomorrow or the day after. Okay. I can also pause a particular job. So if I pause it until I come back here and resume it, it will not start working. Okay. This was one part. Let me just close this. Oops, sorry. Now coming to the part of these states. Okay, so this state is going to give you various calculations, various numerical numbers, okay, which are going to define what problem is occurring in this particular calculation for this roll up field. Okay, that if there is a particular calculation for this roll up field which is not working, or there are some other kinds of errors. Okay, so basically it starts with 0, okay, and goes on up till 6. Okay, so 0 states that the system has not been calculated. At times it will not show 0, it will just simply show a blank state. So that basically means that this field is yet to be calculated. Okay, if it shows 1, then it means that it has already been calculated, and it was calculated at the time which is shown as the last updated on. Okay, coming to the part where you get some other numbers, so they will give you certain errors. So say for example 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they are all related to different errors. Okay, we'll be discussing these errors once we have completed few parts. Okay, yes, anything, just hang on. Okay, now here you can see in your department for IT that the roll up field has been run. Okay, and you can see the total salary. You can see the total salary base, and it was last updated today at 321. As well as here you can see the state as well. The state is 1. Okay, so that means it has been calculated, and the calculation is as per the last updated on part. Okay, so although you can see last updated with the total salary as well, if you want to make some calculations regarding your total salary and when it was last updated on, okay, if you want to make some more functions, some more processes, that time you can include this field. Otherwise you already get that data when you have added the simple field, the roll field into your form, that is total salary. Okay, so that was all about roll up. This is how you will be initiating a roll up field. Okay, and how you can resume this field as per your requirements. Any doubts in roll-up field? Anyone? Okay, great.
Mane, please repeat.
Yes.
Please, Mane,
Some
repeat what is Rollup Field. I am more confused in that.
Okay, this was covered in the last session actually. Right now, we are just focusing on how we are going to resume the roll up field by force. Okay, so basically, a roll up field is going to take up different fields and the data from different fields related to a parent entity. Okay, so usually, when you are going to use a roll up field, you are going to create a lookup for that particular entity where you are adding that roll up field. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, I think those who have not attended the last session, it will be quite difficult for you guys to follow suit. So just okay. Any other doubts for anyone who has gone through roll up? Okay, let us take a quick look at the various errors which might come up for the roll up fields. Hang on just 1 second. So right now you have seen where the state was set as either 0 or null, or where the state was set as 1. Okay. So basically this state is going to help the user as well as the developer to help understand what went wrong while making this mass calculation. Okay. So let me just start. Just 1 second, guys. It is still loading. Wait, just give me 1 second. Yes. So in the last few sessions, we talked about different kind of roll-up fields, right? We have already worked with various data types in the simple field, okay, as well as the calculated and roll-up part, okay. And we discussed how these calculated fields and roll-up fields differ in the different data types which they support, okay. and data types which are the resultant of these fields. Okay. At the same time, I mentioned a few things about there are certain limitations in the calculated fields as well as the roll-up field. For the calculated field, it can take up various parameters from the current entity as well as the parent entity. Okay. And it can have only chains of 5, and those chains cannot be cyclic. Okay, next up, there were few limitations for roll-up field as well. Okay, a roll-up field necessarily requires a one-to-many relationship. Okay, this one-to-many relationship can be created by the person from the relationship part as well as they can simply create a lookup and establish the relationship between the two entities. Okay, for each entity you can have a maximum of 10 roll-up fields. In each entity you can have a maximum of 10 roll-up fields. Say for example, right now your entity is department where we have added just one roll-up field. Okay, we can add only 9 more in the particular department field. Okay, next up, per instance. Instance means the place where you're working. Okay, when you have logged in, you have created a trial instance right now. Yes, so per such instance you can have only 100 roll-up fields. These are few limitations of these aggregators. Now there are various ways on how you can remember the difference between this. Okay, one simple part is that the calculated field is going to calculate something. Okay, well as the roll-up is going to modify something. Okay, loop conditionals and logic has been understood by you guys already. Okay, coming to the states of various parts, let me just can you guys read this, or should I increase the indent?
No.
Yeah, I'll just remove this at all. Okay, I hope it is readable to you guys now a little bit. Okay, so the first state error, state number which you will get, okay, 0. This calls for the field it has been not been calculated at all. Okay, next up is the state number 1 where it is being shown as the field has been calculated and the calculation is as per the updated time in the field as well. Okay, then there is an overflow error. Okay, an overflow error basically means that the calculation has been done, but there is a memory allocation problem in the system where the system does not have enough memory to store that particular value. Okay, next up we have an other errors field. Okay, now the other error field is basically a calculation due to an internal error. This can be because of a calculation job. Okay, and fourth is retry limit is exceeded. Okay, so at certain time you are trying to recalculate the value. Okay, and due to a number of times when the same calculation has been done a lot of times, and every time some error is coming up. Okay, and say for example you have a roll up field which is calculating salary from A, B and C. Okay, at the same time in another part it is calculating for B, C and D. So a lot of conflicts are arising. So maybe in this case, in retry limit exceeded, or in the other error part. Okay, this is mainly because if you have not set the conditions correctly, or if the conditions are not being met properly. Okay, next up we have hierarchical recursion limit reached. Okay, so basically what does an hierarchy mean in the system? A hierarchy basically means that hierarchy basically refers to a parent child relationship. Okay, so what comes under what? Okay, basically just that we will be discussing hierarchy settings and these things in detail. This is just for you guys to understand how it is going to function. Okay, so basically what happens is, right, so basically what happens is that whenever you create a relationship or a hierarchy where you have defined a parent and a child. Okay, so by establishing hierarchy between these two things, you are allowing all the changes to the parent to automatically be transferred and be applied to the child entities or the child components. Okay, say for example, if there is a child, okay, in this physical world, if there is a child and he has a particular address. Okay, then I think it is safe to assume that the parent is also going to have the same address. Okay, and same goes for vice versa. But generally what we are trying to do is, if there is a child and he wants to write his or her address, he will be using the address of their parents, right? Although that child does not have any other address or any other way of specifying his or her physical address. Okay, same case here will be applied, that whatever the parent has been going through, okay, whatever the parent component or the parent entity is facing, is sharing any data, okay, or is sharing any field, assigning some records to a particular user, or making any such functions or actions, okay, all of those functional actions will also be included in the part which is going to be uh, carried out by the child entity or child component as well. So this is where the hierarchical recursion limit reached comes in. That at times what happens is the maximum hierarchy depth limit for the calculation has been reached. So say for example, there is a hierarchy saying A, B and C. So right now you have department, then you have employee. Okay, say for example, I include more child entities into the employee as well. Okay, at times a hierarchy limit will be reached. The hierarchy limit for different kind of relationships, different kind of entities can be set by the system. Okay, that you have to undergo hierarchy up till 1, 2 or 3 or 4 or any such different values, as well as for different fields. Okay, next up we have loop detected. So what can happen is, as we know that these fields cannot be cyclic at all. Either calculated or Rollup fields, these cannot be cyclic. Okay. So a loop detection basically says that a calculated field is a Rollup field is trying to once again be called in another loop of the hierarchical field. Okay. So say for example, I have a Rollup field in A, I have a Rollup field in B and a Rollup field in C. Okay, and somehow some fields of the roll up, some field which is associated with B is once again will called in A. Okay, so what will happen, it will go into an indefinite loop where no where the loop, because of the loop, okay, the data will keep on changing, it will keep on getting processed, and there will be no final value which will be coming up. Okay, so obviously we don't want the loop to arise as such. Okay, so we are not going to process any such formulas or any such calculations where such a loop might arise, because this might eventually lead to a lot of memory failure on part of the system. Okay, as well as it might lead to an ultimate crash. So the system nowadays, they are more receptive and more understanding of such errors which might arise, and they themselves don't allow such calculations to take place where a certain loop like this is detected. Okay, so this was about the states which are available in your rollup fields. Okay. So now you guys know what is a rollup field, the different functions which we are utilizing in a rollup field. Okay. How we can resume it. Okay. So this was all about that. And here I have another tab for you guys. This is a basic difference between rollup and calculated, since few people remain uh, to have some uh, confusion between these two fields. Okay. So a calculated field is a modifier. It is just modifying the data or the value per in two or one fields and adding it to a third field. Okay. A rollup is going to aggregate data. It is going to combine data from multiple fields, from multiple records. Okay. And it is going to take up the data from a completely different entity, while a calculated field is going to function on that very entity or a parent entity field. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Once again, the calculated field is going to be run in real time once you click upon save. The rollup is going to be run by default every 12 hours, and it can be forced from system jobs. You can even modify the frequency from the system jobs. Okay. Next up, it can be we are going to utilize few automation processes, okay, in the future when we are studying and working on Microsoft Dynamics 365. That is going to be known as workflows, which is going to automate a few functions which are going to recur every time for the system, where you as a user or the developer doesn't need to put up any input, and certain functions will still be carried out in the background of the system. Okay, so that is going to be a workflow, and your calculated fields can be used as triggers for a workflow. Triggers means that a workflow can be based on the calculated field and the data which it is giving, okay? But the same cannot be done for a roll-up field, mainly because a roll-up field is completely virtual entity, okay? It is going to completely keep on changing and it is associated with fields of a completely different entity. Okay, so right now your roll-up is in department, okay? But the roll-up field is taking up data from the salary field of employee entity. Okay, so there is a relationship between these two entities, and that is why it is able to refer to these uh, data which has been inputted into the salary fields. Okay, next up, yes, the functions differ. We have functions for diff, add, subtract, trim, concat, and calculate fields, while for rollup we have functions like sum, average, max, minimum, and count. Okay. At the same time, for calculated fields, it is going to utilize all the connected fields and fields from paired entities as well. While for the roll-up field, you need to have a one-to-many relationship, as well as you need to have yes, that is correct. Or else you can have a lookup field being created into the entity where you want to extract the data from. Okay. So right now we were extracting data for the roll-up field in department from the employee. So that is why we created a lookup field in employee for searching for a department. Okay, this is how we were mapping different employees to a particular entity or a particular record in the department field. Okay. So this was all for today. This was all about calculated fields and roll-up fields. Any doubts in this? Anyone? Okay, so if anyone has any doubts, they can let me know.
No, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So in the next session, we'll be starting with a completely new topic. You guys can take up some assignments or try to practice on these roll-up and calculated fields in the meantime. Okay, so that will be all from my end. Thank you so much for joining.